Well, since everyone has made videos about the Nintendo Switch, I should do one now that the wave is over, in my procrastinator fashion. First, let's get out the known information about the Switch before I delve into my opinions. The Switch will retail at $300 US. It will come with a set of Joy-Cons, the tablet console itself, the charging stand, an AC adapter, and a HD cable, and a Joy-Con grip. It doesn't have any bundled in games. It also has a version with different colored Joy-Cons. The console has a 720p screen and can output 1080p in docked form, and it seems to run most games at 60 FPS. The screen is larger than the Wii U gamepad, but the console itself is about the same size, although significantly heavier and thinner. The battery life is said to be between 3 to 6 hours depending on the game you play, with Zelda being on the 3 hours mark. Now, when I think of the console itself, I think making a handheld console hybrid was a good move for Nintendo, since the Wii U has done horrible and the 3DS has boomed. So the Switch in theory should get the best of both worlds, the benefit of the games that the 3DS would get, such as Pokemon, and all the benefit of the games the console version will get, such as Zelda. Power-wise, it's extremely powerful compared to any other handheld we've had in the past, and it seems to be about the same power as the 8th gen consoles, though it might be weaker given its size and low price. It may get held back in some regards with this lack of power compared to its competition, but I don't really think it needs it. It has the appeal of some of Nintendo's greatest franchises and its portability. That is, if Nintendo makes a consistent lineup of games. One of the reasons the Wii U did so poorly was the lack of Nintendo's masterpieces. What I mean by that is, nearly every Nintendo console has had its massive games. The GameCube, for example, has no shortage of games that are considered amazing directly made by Nintendo. The Wii U didn't have games like that. Nintendo focused on creating new gimmicks and new ideas with games instead of making great masterpiece games. This trend started during the days of the Wii, but the Wii had numbers to back it up, and those games that weren't that great didn't make the console suffer. And that doesn't mean all games that tried new things were bad. Super Mario Galaxy was a great game for the Wii that didn't get hindered by its new ideas or new gimmicks. But the Wii U didn't have numbers to back up its creativity. The Switch seems to be aware of this. If we look at the launch lineup already, we have 3 great looking games for the console in year 1. Super Mario Odyssey, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Splatoon 2. If we compare this to the Wii U, it took 3 years for Splatoon to come out, 1 year for Mario 3D World, and 5 years for Zelda. Now, I know they had other games, but the Wii U's Year 1 launch lineup was nothing impressive. And judging by the trailers, all 3 of these games look like they could have been Nintendo's best games. And if we're getting 2 of the main franchises in the first year, what are we going to get later on? Now, moving on from games to hardware. People forgot that Nintendo has always been a company about innovation, new ways to play. The NES had ROB, which wasn't really a good gimmick, nor was it used much, but it's there. But also keep in mind, the NES was one of the first of its kind. It's gaming and simplicity at the home, and powerful gaming at that. The SNES had 2 more face buttons that became the standard of the industry, and bumpers. The N64 added the joystick and 1 trigger. Then the GameCube kinda dropped this pattern. It kept the design of most other controllers at the time, however, lacked some major things, such as proper triggers. The Wii threw away everything that had become standard at the time and made the Wiimote. Now, the Wiimote had the capability of motion control, but it needed to have a separate accessory in order to play some games. And even with that, it lacked all the standard industry buttons that would make some games very difficult to play on it. And the Wii U kept the same Wiimote around. However, with the gamepad, we still got a full controller, and the Wii U Pro controller also gave this option. And the Nintendo Switch continues this trend. However, it does something very clever with this. Instead of having a gimmicky controller that hinders some kind of play, like the Wiimote did, it got a controller that comes in sets of 2. That combined became a full controller. And then the set can be separated into 2 controllers for games that have a simpler control scheme, such as Mario Kart. This is absolute genius. By doing this, they can include their innovation and add new ways to play games and the standard way to play for those who want it too. The one thing that can get in the way of this great solution would be making the controllers incredibly costly, but they got around that. They also released the Pro Controller, so if you can live without having the two Joy-Cons, you can buy the Pro Controller for a much smaller price. Two Pro Controllers put together are about the same price as a set of Joy-Cons, so you could split apart the Joy-Cons and make two different controllers that are simpler, or you can have two Pro controllers. The Joy-Cons fix just about every gripe I have with the Wiimote, while still providing much better motion controls and some cool things like the little hand sensor it's got and the HD rumble. I have high hopes for the Switch overall. It looks like all the power of a console with the same quality of games but portable at the same time. But who knows, the Switch could be a monumental failure, but I'm fairly confident that it'll do a lot better than the Wii U in any case.